Too far, too deep, too high.
Today in our test we're looking at the Blade Trigger 9 square meter and 12 square meter. The blade trigger has a 4-point bridle with one pulley. The steering lines are directly connected with the tip end. There is no variation given to tune the kite in bar feeling and bar pressure or turning speed. To inflate the kite there's a small one-way valve in the main tube, and to deflate there's a slightly bigger deflation valve. The struts are flanged on and they're strengthened with some long webbings to prevent the struts from bending down. The front tube has a doubled standard stitching, which is doubled up and stitched together on the inner side of the tube. At the end of the front tube we find line deflectors. The force application area is strengthened with a small Dacron frame. The remaining tip area is made of a single ripstop material. Possible damage areas are protected with rubber pads or with additional webbing attached. The struts are connected with a single stitching and on the inner side with a double layer stitched together. The transition between kite sail and front tube has a Dacron frame as a double layer. In the low speed wind range, the planing performance of the blade trigger is good to very good. The reason here is the very early airflow, and that counts for both kite size the same, the 9 square meter and the 12 square meter kite. Very nice is the upwind performance of the kite. The kite pulls very far into the window edge without losing any of its pressure and power, so an adjustment during upwind course is not really needed. The bar feeling is direct and precise. The kite follows the commands very clean and delivers the needed turn radius for a good bar feeling. The good bar feeling is a result of a good steering and pulling force, which is slightly higher than medium, considering the average bar forces. The blade trigger kite delivers a very sporty power expansion, so it is high and progressive. Its shape of a little delta profile and a round front shape produces a middle and round turning radius. Those turns are combined with a medium to high flying speed. During strong and gusty conditions, the kite airflow is even and consistent, which means the kite remains extremely stable in profile and performance. Also, the DB power works at all times very good, therefore the kite power is suitable for all wind ranges. The safety released by 6 kg under a load of 120 kg. The kite falls pressureless over the single front line safety. In the standard setting of the stopper of the safety, during very strong wind conditions there can be still some pulling force, so therefore who wants to prevent this happening can set the stopper a little bit towards the kite direction. The reset of the safety is easy and very quick understandable. We also provide under Gleitentherapie, under test and under bars every tested kite a special bar explanation video. By pulling and holding the steering line firmly, the kite starts at the wind window edge pretty good. The progressive power delivery ensures by the 9 and 12 square meter kite for hooked-in jumps fantastic airtime. The powerful lift is easy to recall. There's almost no side force during the release in the jump, and therefore a good amount of line tension is assured for a good hang time. Sporty freerider liking it more unhooked will also love this kite, because before the jump the kite's position is very good and delivers a good pop. There's also a release of the blade trigger, however we should not forget the noticeable difference between a sea kite here. The fun during kite loops is ensured as well. The round turning behavior combined with the light progressive power produced a good amount of side push. The constant airflow produced by the clean airflow profile ensures a quick uplift after the turn, so the rider will be caught nicely. And last but not least, looking into light wave conditions, we have tested the blade trigger. A big plus is a very easy and direct, precise turning ability. The kite's behavior is very neutral in its trim and it glides very good with the wave ride. You can even leave the kite steady at some positions. A small disadvantage is the slight progression, which is still controllable throughout the D-power, but for the perfect wave kite is just not quite enough. From our side we can really say the producer of the blade trigger have done their homework very well. The kite is well constructed in design, it is a very clean production, and the workmanship quality is very high as well. The blade trigger delivers a sporty performance in a very wide wind range, and it can be easily be compared and measured with the one-fit-all kites. For a lightweight beginner we would not recommend this kite, since the kite has a high progression and the steering force as well as the pulling force is a bit too high. From our side, the blade trigger is strongly recommended for surfers with a weight of 75 kilos upwards and an average riding skill.
Panasonic. Ideas for life.